Commander Ghost had seen death in 100 different forms across 30 worlds, but nothing prepared him for the silence that greeted him on New Eden. The colony should have been bustling with the laughter of 8,000 children, the hum of schools, the chaos of playgrounds. Instead, his boots crunched on crystallized sand where alien plasma weapons had turned the settlement into glass. The attack had been swift and surgical. No military targets, no strategic installations. Just the children's residential districts, the schools, the nurseries. Every human under 16 years old had been taken. The adults who tried to protect them lay scattered like broken dolls, their bodies twisted by weapons that dissolved bone and flesh alike. Knelt beside a small crater where Jenny Martinez's kindergarten had stood. The 5-year-old had been his neighbor's daughter back on Earth. He remembered her gap-toothed smile when she'd shown him her drawing of rockets. Now there was only fused glass and the lingering smell of ozone. "Sir," Lieutenant Sarah's voice crackled through his comm. "The Galactic Council delegation is requesting immediate audience." Stood slowly, his weathered face carved from granite. 23 years as a Navy SEAL, 12 years commanding humanity's first interstellar special forces unit, and he'd never felt this kind of cold fury. It started in his chest and spread like ice through his veins. The council chamber aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony was a monument to alien bureaucracy. Representatives from 47 species sat in perfectly arranged semicircles, their translator devices humming with polite conversation. The delegate, ambassador, lounged in his ceremonial robes, his multiple arms gesturing dismissively. "The human emotional response is understandable but irrelevant," was saying to the assembled delegates. The acquisition of juvenile specimens was conducted within established protocols for studying developing neural patterns of emerging species. The mediator nodded sagely. "Indeed, the scientific collective has operated within legal parameters. These specimens will be well cared for during the research period." "Specimens," spoke the word quietly, but somehow it carried across the vast chamber. Conversation stopped. Every alien eye turned toward the lone human who had entered uninvited. He walked slowly down the center aisle, his military boots echoing against the polished floor. His dress blues were crisp, his medals catching the soft lighting, but his eyes held something that made even the carnivorous representative shift uncomfortably. "You called them specimens," repeated, stopping directly in front of the elevated platform. The ambassador's secondary arms fluttered with amusement. "Commander, I presume your reputation for violence precedes you. However, this is a civilized forum. Your primitive emotional outbursts have no place here." 8,000 children," said, his voice never rising above conversation level. The youngest was 3 months old. Baby Sarah, her parents named her after the first human to walk on Mars. "The age variations provide excellent comparative data," replied smoothly. "Human neural development patterns are surprisingly complex for such a young species. We estimate the research will require approximately 15 standard cycles." 15 years. Felt something break inside his chest, but his expression never changed. Around the chamber, other delegates murmured approval. The crystalline hive mind representative pulsed with satisfied light patterns. The ethereal collective whispered among themselves in frequencies that made human teeth ache. "I see," said. He reached into his jacket and a small device. "Before I respond to that, I'd like to share something with all of you." The device projected a hologram into the center of the chamber. It showed a playground on New Eden, recorded just hours before the attack. Children of every human ethnicity played together under twin suns, their laughter echoing across the space. "That's Tommy building with his little sister," narrated calmly. "She's 4, loves strawberry ice cream and bedtime stories about brave knights." The hologram shifted. "That's Williams teaching the other kids how to throw a baseball. He wants to be an astronaut when he grows up. Wanted." The images continued. Birthday parties, school plays, children learning to read, families having dinner together, normal life, human life. "And this," said, changing the projection, "is what your civilized research protocols look like." The new images showed the aftermath: scorched earth, vaporized buildings, bodies of parents who died trying to shield their children. The silence in the chamber was absolute. His primary arms waved dismissively. Regrettable but necessary. Emotional attachment would have compromised the specimen's psychological baselines. Clean extraction required the elimination of stabilizing influences. Nodded slowly. I understand your position completely. He put the projector away and clasped his hands behind his back. Now I'd like to share humanity's response. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. Humanity formally withdraws from all Galactic Council treaties and accords, effective immediately. We reject Council authority over human space and human affairs. We will no longer recognize Council law, Council mediation, or Council protection. Shocked murmurs erupted throughout the chamber. The mediator's tentacles fluttered in alarm. Commander, surely you understand the implications. Humanity is a minor species. You number barely 12 billion across 6 worlds. The galaxy contains civilizations spanning thousands of systems. I do understand, replied, which is why I'm giving you fair warning. He turned back to, you took our children, you murdered their families, you called them specimens and laughed about it. His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. You are about to learn why every predator species in this galaxy fears the sound of human children crying. His translator struggled with what might have been laughter. Threats, Commander? Your species lacks the technology, the numbers, the strategic capability to challenge even a minor scientific collective, let alone the full council. This emotional display is precisely why younger species require guidance. Smiled then, and somehow that expression was more terrifying than any shout of rage. Ambassador, you've made a fundamental error in your research. You studied human neural development, human psychology, human biology, but you never studied human history. He began walking backward toward the chamber's exit, never breaking eye contact with. Every human child knows stories. Stories about what happens to monsters who steal children. Stories about what parents become when their bobbies are taken. Stories about why, throughout our entire violent history, every culture, every civilization, every tribe has had one absolute law. The chamber doors slid open behind him. You don't touch the children. Paused at the threshold. You wanted to study developing human neural patterns? Congratulations. You're about to get a comprehensive education in fully developed human warfare. Every child you took, every parent you murdered, every family you destroyed, they all have names. They all have people who loved them. His final words echoed across the silent chamber. And we remember every single one. The doors closed behind him, leaving 47 alien species to contemplate what they had just unleashed. 3 hours later, every human settlement across 6 star systems went dark. Military installations that had been open to council inspection suddenly disappeared behind impossible energy shields. Human ships that had been operating under council registry simply vanished from all tracking systems. In the depths of space, ancient protocols activated. Systems that had been dormant for decades hummed to life. Weapons that existed in no official records began charging. And in hidden facilities across human space, soldiers who had been retired from service started receiving calls. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been very careful about what technologies they'd shared. They were about to discover that humans had been planning for this day since the moment they'd first encountered alien life. Most importantly, they were about to understand that every human war cry, every battle hymn, every military tradition for 10,000 years had been built around one simple concept: protect the children, no matter the cost. The seal had spoken to the aliens. Now it was time for the children to cry from the ruins of those who had taken them. Admiral had been expecting the call. 24 hours after his dramatic exit from the Galactic Council, she stood in the war room buried 3 kilometers beneath Luna's surface. The chamber had been built in secret during humanity's first decade among the stars, when optimistic diplomats spoke of friendship and cooperation, while military planners prepared for the inevitable. Now those preparations were about to be tested. Status report, she ordered as her staff assembled around the holographic display table. General James, head of special operations, activated his display. All black sites are operational. Project has been running continuous war games for 8 years. Our people are ready. Intelligence turned to Colonel. Complete penetration of communication networks achieved 47 minutes ago. We have real-time access to their research facility locations, security protocols, and administrative traffic. His fingers danced over her interface. The children are being held in 17 different facilities across the 442 system, all heavily guarded, all supposedly impenetrable. Supposedly? His face split into a predator's grin. Ma'am, with respect, we've been planning this operation since the incident 6 years ago. Ghost wasn't just running diplomatic security all this time. Every human child in galaxy space has been with technology the Council has never seen. Nodded grimly. The incident, when alien pirates had briefly captured a human transport with 30 children aboard. They'd been rescued within hours, but the psychological impact had transformed humanity's entire strategic doctrine. Never again. "Show me the facilities," she commanded. The holographic display materialized 17 research stations scattered across an entire star system. Each facility was a marvel of alien engineering, energy shields, gravity manipulators, matter disruptors. Defenses designed to stop conventional fleets. "Ma'am," spoke Captain Lisa Park from the engineering section, "we've finished analyzing the shield frequencies. They are using defensive technology, quantum resonance barriers, completely impervious to any known weapons." "Any known weapons," repeated Chief Science Officer Dr. Rachel Green. "Fortunately, we stopped sharing our weapons research with the galaxy 8 years ago." She activated her own display. Schematics filled the air, devices that looked more like abstract art than military hardware. Crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around themselves. Energy patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Phase displacement torpedoes," Dr. Green explained. "They don't impact the shields, they ignore them entirely. The warheads exist in quantum superposition until the moment of detonation." Admiral studied the designs, theoretical applications. "Admiral, we can put a nuclear warhead anywhere in that system without their defenses detecting or stopping it. We can materialize weapons inside their facilities. We can make their most protected installations completely vulnerable." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For decades, humanity had played the role of grateful junior partners in galactic civilization. They'd shared some technology, contributed to joint ventures, participated in council initiatives. But they'd been careful. Very careful. "What about the children?" asked. "Extraction protocols." General activated a new display. "Every human child carries a quantum beacon in their bloodstream. Looks like standard medical to alien scanners, but it's actually a sophisticated tracking and communication system." He paused. "And more." "More?" "Emergency revival protocols, ma'am. If a child's life signs go critical, that can maintain basic brain function for up to 72 hours. We can extract them even if—" He didn't finish the sentence. Colonel added, "We've also confirmed that they haven't harmed them yet. Their research requires baseline neurological patterns, so they're keeping the children in reasonable conditions. Scared, homesick, but alive and healthy." Felt a knot in her stomach loosen slightly. "How long do we have?" "Unknown, ma'am, but probably not long. Research methodology involves progressive stress testing. They'll start with mild psychological pressure and escalate until they break down the subject's mental defenses." "Torture?" The word came out flat and cold. "Yes, ma'am. Sophisticated, scientific torture designed to map human emotional and psychological responses under extreme duress." Admiral looked around the room at her senior staff. These were the men and women who had spent their careers preparing for the worst-case scenario. Now it had arrived. "Recommendations." General stepped forward. "Operation Nursery Rhyme, ma'am. Full implementation. We hit every facility simultaneously, extract every child, and eliminate every research asset in the system." "Casualties?" "Minimal human casualties expected. We can't make the same promise about the—" Dr. Green activated another display. "Admiral, I need to inform you about one additional asset, Project Prometheus." Frowned. "I don't recall authorizing any Project Prometheus." "You didn't, ma'am. It's been running under deep black classification for 12 years. Only 5 people in the government know about it." The display showed a single spacecraft unlike anything in the official human fleet. Where human ships were typically elegant and efficient, this vessel looked like crystallized violence. Its hull seemed to absorb light, and its weapon systems were barely recognizable as technology. "What am I looking at?" "The prototype for humanity's next-generation warships. We've been reverse engineering captured alien technology and combining it with theoretical weapons systems. The result is, Dr. Green paused. Let's just say it makes everything else in the galaxy obsolete. Everything. Admiral, this ship could engage the entire fleet simultaneously and win. It's not just advanced, it's physics breaking. We've learned things about the universe that the Council species haven't even imagined. Captain Park added, the really interesting part is that we didn't invent most of this technology. We found it. Found it where? In our own solar system, ma'am. Buried in asteroids, hidden in the ice rings of Saturn, embedded in lunar rock formations. Someone left a complete technological inheritance for humanity. We just had to develop enough to recognize what we were looking at. Stared at the ship on the display. Are you telling me that some unknown civilization seeded our solar system with advanced weapons technology? That's exactly what I'm telling you, ma'am, and we think we know why. Dr. Green activated one more display. Galactic history records show a pattern. Every few thousand years, a species emerges that the Council classifies as problematically aggressive. Those species are studied, contained, and eventually eliminated for the greater good. Like they are trying to do to us. Yes, ma'am, but this time is different. Whoever left us that technology appears to have been preparing for this exact scenario. Every weapon system, every defensive measure, every tactical advantage, it's all designed specifically to counter Council species technology and tactics. The implications hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Spoke first. Ma'am, we could end this war before it really begins. Hit them so hard and fast that the entire galaxy understands humanity is not to be threatened. Or, Colonel countered, we could trigger a galactic war that destroys every human world. Studied the data streams flowing across the displays. 8,000 children held captive by creatures who saw them as experimental animals. Parents mourning on 6 worlds. And now evidence that humanity had been secretly armed by unknown allies for a war they never saw coming. Options. Surgical strike, suggested. Extract the children, eliminate the research facilities, send a message without triggering galactic warfare. Overwhelming force, Dr. Green offered. Deploy Project Prometheus, demonstrate our true capabilities, establish humanity as the dominant military power in this region of the galaxy. Negotiation, added quietly. Use our new intelligence assets to apply pressure. Maybe we can achieve the same results without massive casualties. Admiral looked at each of them in turn. Good people, intelligent people, all trying to balance impossible moral equations. But she kept thinking about Commander's words to the Galactic Council. Every child you took has a name, people who loved them. She'd made her decision before she even realized it. We're going to do something the galaxy has never seen before, she said quietly. We're going to rescue every single child, eliminate every single threat, and we're going to do it in a way that makes absolutely clear what happens when someone touches human children. She activated the Master Communications Array. All stations, all commands, all assets. Operation Nursery Rhyme is authorized for immediate implementation. Rules of engagement are weapons-free for any military asset, any Council enforcement vessel, and any alien force that interferes with child extraction. The displays around the room began lighting up as hidden assets across the galaxy received their activation codes. Ships that had been disguised as civilian transports began powering up military-grade systems. Space stations that appeared on no official records started launching unmarked fighters. And in deep space, something that had been waiting for 12 years finally began moving toward the 442 system. Admiral asked, what about rules of engagement for non-combatants? Thought about crying children locked in alien laboratories. About parents vaporized for trying to protect their families. About a galaxy full of species that viewed human emotion as primitive and human life as experimental material. Any alien that interferes with the extraction of our children is by definition a combatant, she said. Any facility that houses our children is a military target. Any government that supported or enabled their capture is a hostile power. She paused, looking around the room one more time. Ladies, we are about to demonstrate why every human military tradition, every warrior culture, every protective instinct we've ever developed exists for one purpose: to ensure that our children can sleep safely at night. The war room fell silent except for the hum of electronics, and the distant commander materialized in the belly of the stealth transport's silent running as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the 442 system. The ship's quantum displacement was technology that officially didn't exist, pulled from the same mysterious cache that had given humanity weapons the galaxy couldn't imagine. "Status report," he ordered as he stepped onto the bridge. Captain Maria Santos turned from her command chair. 17 targets confirmed, sir. All facilities are exactly where our intelligence indicated. Fleet strength is 46 vessels, mostly scientific escorts, but we've detected at least 8 heavy cruisers. Our assets. 12 ghost teams are already in system, sir. They've been infiltrating the research stations for the past 6 hours using phase shift technology. Team 7 reports they've made visual contact with the children. Felt his chest tighten. Condition. Scared but unharmed, sir. They appear to be maintaining them in environmental chambers designed to replicate Earth conditions. However, Santos hesitated. However, intelligence suggests they're planning to begin psychological stress testing within the next 18 hours, something called emotional breakdown protocols. The temperature in his voice dropped 10 degrees. Torture. Yes, sir. Scientific torture designed to map human psychological breaking points. Studied the tactical display showing the research facilities scattered across the system like a constellation of alien cruelty. Each facility held hundreds of human children. Each one was supposedly impregnable. What about their defenses? Lieutenant Commander activated her tactical overlay. Quantum resonance shields, gravitational anchors, matter disruptors, and automated defense networks. Plus each facility has between 50 and 200 guards. Estimated casualty rates for conventional assault. Unacceptable, sir. Even with our advanced weapons, we'd lose at least 30% of the children to hostile action or facility self-destruct mechanisms. Nodded grimly. That was why they weren't using conventional assault. Activation status on Project Prometheus. The Nemesis is holding position at the system's edge, sir. All systems are green, and Captain Williams reports ready for immediate deployment. Ghost team status. All teams report successful infiltration. Phase shift generators are holding stable, and they've completed detailed reconnaissance of every facility. Team 3 reports they've identified the primary research director, Doctor, in Facility 7. His expression didn't change, but everyone on the bridge felt the sudden chill in the air. Doctor was the scientist who had designed the specimen acquisition protocols, the clinical term for murdering parents and kidnapping their children. Communication from Admiral, sir, reported Communications Officer Lieutenant Park. Put her through. Admiral's image appeared on the main display, transmitted through quantum entanglement communications that they couldn't intercept or decode. Ghost, what's your assessment? Ma'am, all assets are in position. We can begin extraction in 30 minutes. However, I'm recommending a slight modification to our mission parameters. Explain. Look directly into the camera. Ma'am, these facilities aren't just research stations. They're weapons laboratories. They aren't just studying our children. They're using them to develop psychological warfare techniques specifically designed to break human minds. Admiral's face tightened. Evidence. Lieutenant Commander forwarded the intelligence files. We've penetrated their research databases, ma'am. They're not just mapping human neural development. They're specifically researching human emotional bonds, family structures, and psychological vulnerabilities. The goal is to develop weapons that can psychologically devastate human populations without physical damage. Continued, they want to learn how to destroy human families from the inside, turn parents against children, break trust bonds, create psychological trauma that passes through generations. They're using our kids as guinea pigs to figure out how to destroy our entire civilization through targeted mental warfare. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Admiral's voice was steady but deadly cold. Recommendations, Commander. Ma'am, I recommend we send a message that makes absolutely clear what happens to any species that views human children as experimental subjects. Not just to but to every species in the galaxy watching this situation. Approved, execute at your discretion. The transmission ended and turned to his tactical officer. Signal all ghost teams. Operation Nursery Rhyme is now Operation Sleeping Beauty. Captain Santos looked up sharply. Sir, Sleeping Beauty protocols involve complete elimination of all hostile research assets and personnel. No prisoners, no survivors, no evidence left behind except the empty facilities and rescued children. He activated the ship's internal communication system. All hands, this is Commander. In approximately 25 minutes, we will begin the largest hostage rescue operation in human history. We will extract 8,000 children from 17 heavily defended alien facilities. We will do this without losing a single child. He paused, looking around the bridge at faces that reflected his own cold determination. But we're going to do something else as well. We're going to demonstrate to the galaxy what human warfare looks like when our children are threatened. Every alien species is about to learn why our lullabies are full of monsters and why our fairy tales end with dead witches. The bridge erupted in quiet activity as final preparations began. Ghost Team 1, this is Command, spoke into his tactical communicator. Status on primary targets. Sir, we've located all children in Facility 1. 43 kids ages 3 to 15. They're scared but healthy. Guards are in standard positions. Phase shift charges are planted and ready. Ghost Team 2. Facility 2 is secured, sir. 51 children confirmed. Dr. Al is present. He's the one who designed the neural mapping procedures. Smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. Dr. Al would not be leaving Facility 2 alive. Ghost Team 7. Sir, we have a problem. Doctor has accelerated the testing schedule. He's beginning preliminary stress protocols on the youngest children in 30 minutes. The bridge temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Define stress protocols. Sir, they're going to start by separating siblings, playing recordings of their parents screaming, and introducing controlled physical pain while monitoring neural responses. Closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they held something that made trained soldiers step back involuntarily. All teams, new timeline. Commence operation immediately. Authorization, Children's Crusade Alpha. Across 17 facilities in the 442 system, 48 of humanity's most elite special operations soldiers began the most precise, most violent, most devastating rescue operation in galactic history. The first phase took exactly 90 seconds. Quantum displacement charges materialized inside every command center, communications hub, and security station simultaneously. Explosions that existed in sewer position until the moment of detonation tore through alien technology like tissue paper. The second phase was even faster. Ghost teams emerged from phase shift concealment and began moving through facilities that were suddenly dark, defenseless, and filled with confused, panicking guards. But these weren't random soldiers. Every human operative had been selected for this mission based on one criteria. They were parents, aunts, uncles, or older siblings. Every single person carrying a weapon into these facilities was fighting for children who might have been their own. Doctor was reviewing stress protocol data when his laboratory door simply ceased to exist. He looked up from his displays to find a figure in black armor standing in the smoking doorway. The human was holding a rifle that seemed to bend light around its barrel. Doctor, the figure said in perfect, you are the scientist who designed the specimen acquisition protocols. Yes, the doctor replied, too shocked to be afraid. Who are you? How did you penetrate our defenses? The figure removed his helmet, revealing the face of Commander. I'm the monster from Human Children's Stories, he said quietly. The one who comes for creatures that steal bobbies in the night. Doctor's four arms fluttered in what might have been indignation. This is a scientific facility. I am a researcher. This is a violation of galactic law. Looked around the laboratory. Walls covered with neural mapping displays showing human children's brain patterns under stress. Data tablets filled with psychological breaking points and emotional vulnerability analyses. Video screens displaying recordings of human families being murdered. Doctor, said conversationally, you've spent months studying how to break human children's minds. You've recorded their parents being killed. You've mapped their psychological vulnerabilities. You've designed weapons specifically to destroy human families. He raised his rifle. Now you're going to learn about human adult psychological responses. Wait, Doctor's voice cracked with sudden terror. You can't, I surrender. Galactic conventions protect prisoners of. Doctor interrupted. There are no galactic conventions for creatures who torture children. The laboratory fell silent. Across 17 facilities, similar scenes played out with mechanical precision. Researchers who had spent months studying human psychological vulnerabilities discovered that humans had vulnerabilities of their own, but they only activated when children were threatened. Phase 4 of the operation began 15 minutes after Phase 1. Ghost teams had secured all children and were beginning extraction to the rescue ships. Every child was alive, unharmed, and being carried to safety by soldiers who whispered reassurances in every human language. Phase 5 was the message. The Nemesis dropped out of faster-than-light travel in the center of the 442 system, its hull reflecting no light and its weapon systems charging with energies that made space itself ripple. Captain Williams opened a communication channel to every vessel and facility in the system. This is Captain Williams, commanding the Earth vessel Nemesis. All vessels have 60 seconds to evacuate this system. Any ship that remains will be considered hostile and eliminated. The Fleet Admiral's response came immediately. Human vessel, you are in violation of Council space. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. You are outnumbered 46-1. Captain Williams smiled. Admiral, you misunderstand the situation. You're not outnumbered 46-1. You're just trapped in here with us. She activated the Nemesis's primary weapon system. The ship that officially didn't exist fired weapons that officially couldn't work at targets that thought they were officially safe behind defenses that were officially impregnable. 46 vessels ceased to exist in the span of 30 seconds. Not destroyed, not disabled, not damaged, simply removed from reality as if they had never been built. The research facilities lasted another 10 seconds. When the Nemesis finished her work, the 442 system contained exactly what Commander had promised. The ruins where alien children's voices would cry from, and 8,000 rescued human children heading home to families who had never stopped believing they would come back. The Galactic Council emergency session convened aboard the massive space station Unity exactly 47 hours after the 442 system had gone dark. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Great Chamber, their voices a cacophony of alarm, outrage, and barely controlled fear. Ambassador was not among them. Neither were any other representatives. The entire scientific collective, 12 billion beings across 43 worlds, had simply stopped communicating with the galaxy at large. Their embassy ships had returned to home space, their trade vessels had vanished from commercial routes, and their diplomatic missions had gone silent. The mediator, Consul, called the session to order with visible trembling in his tentacles. Fellow sapients, we face an unprecedented crisis. A member species has launched an unprovoked attack against another member species, resulting in the complete destruction of 17 research facilities and 46 vessels. Unprovoked, the crystalline hive mind's representative flashed angry red patterns. The conducted legal scientific research under established protocols. Research that involved murdering human families and kidnapping children, interrupted a new voice from the chamber's entrance. All eyes turned to see Commander walking down the center aisle, but he was not alone. Behind him came a procession that made even the most warlike species fall silent. 12 human children, ages ranging from 5 to 15, wearing simple white clothes and holding hands in a line. At the front of the group walked a small girl with curly brown hair, perhaps 6 years old, carrying a stuffed rabbit that had seen better days. I am Emma, the little girl said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber's acoustics. My daddy said I could come talk to the people who hurt us. The silence was absolute. Consul's tentacles writhed in distress. Commander, this is highly irregular. Children have no standing in council proceedings. This is a diplomatic forum. You're right, replied calmly. This isn't a diplomatic forum anymore. This is a war crimes tribunal. He gestured to the children beside him. These are witnesses to crimes against humanity. They have things to say to the species who watched their friends disappear, their families murdered, their homes destroyed. Emma stepped forward, still holding her rabbit. The bad aliens put us in cages. They showed us pictures of our mommies and daddies being hurt. They said they were going to take our memories away so we wouldn't remember our families. Her voice never wavered, but the simplicity of her words hit the chamber like a physical blow. They said we were just animals for studying. They said human feelings weren't real feelings because we were too young to be civilized. Another child, an older boy with serious dark eyes, spoke next. I'm 12. The aliens told me they were going to keep us for 15 years while they figured out how to break human minds. They said they wanted to learn how to make human children stop loving their parents. A girl with red hair raised her hand politely, as if she were in school. My name is Sarah, I'm 8. They killed my baby sister when they took us. They said Bobbies were too small to give good research data, so they didn't need her. The chamber erupted in uncomfortable murmurs. Several representatives shifted uneasily in their seats. Commander let the children speak for another 10 minutes. Simple words, clear descriptions, honest accounts of systematic cruelty delivered with the devastating honesty that only children possess. No dramatics, no rhetoric, just truth spoken by voices too young to understand political complexities. When they finished, addressed the chamber. Honored representatives, you have heard testimony from 12 of the 8,000 human children who were kidnapped, imprisoned, and prepared for psychological torture by the scientific collective. These children were rescued by human forces after the Galactic Council declared their captivity legal and appropriate. Consul's voice carried a defensive edge. Commander, the Council operates under established law. The research protocols were reviewed and approved by the Scientific Ethics Committee. Which species sit on that committee? Asked quietly. The Union, the crystalline hive mind, the ethereal collective, the Empire, and... The Consul's voice trailed off. The Scientific Collective, finished. A committee of species who have never had children, never formed family bonds, and never experienced parental love voted to approve the torture of human families. He looked around the chamber. You want to discuss law? Let's discuss law, human law. The law that says any creature that harms our children forfeits its right to exist peacefully in the same universe. The representative, a massive being, clicked its mandibles aggressively. Human, your species' emotional responses are irrelevant. The galaxy operates under rational principles, not primitive parental instincts. Your attack on the was illegal aggression that demands retaliation. Emma looked up at the representative with wide, curious eyes. Are you a mommy or a daddy? The being's compound eyes focused on the small human. I am neither. Reproduction involves egg-laying and communal rearing. Individual attachment to offspring is a biological inefficiency. Oh, Emma said sadly, that's why you don't understand. You never loved a baby. The simple words hung in the air like a knife. Activated a holographic projector, filling the chamber with images of the rescued children reuniting with their families. Parents collapsing to their knees as their stolen children ran into their arms. Siblings embracing after months of not knowing if they would ever see each other again. Grandparents weeping with joy as they're whispered, I knew you would find me. This, said quietly, is what you voted to destroy when you approved research protocols. Not just the children's lives, but the bonds that connect human families across generations. The love that makes us who we are. He changed the projection to show the aftermath on New Eden. Empty playgrounds, burned schools, memorial gardens where parents had planted flowers for children they thought they would never hold again. And this is what your legal research protocols actually looked like on the ground. Murder, kidnapping, genocide disguised as science. Consul's tentacles were now trembling visibly. Commander, what do you want from this council? Looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from 46 species. I want you to understand that the galaxy has changed. Humanity is no longer a junior member species seeking your approval and guidance. We are no longer bound by your laws, your ethics, or your protection. He gestured to his daughter. Every human child now carries technology that can call down planet-killing weapons if they are threatened. Every human settlement is protected by defenses that your best fleets cannot penetrate. Every human ship carries weapons that can eliminate your largest vessels without warning. Threats, the crystalline hive mind representative flashed angry patterns. Primitive intimidation tactics. Promises, corrected. The scientific collective learned the difference between threats and promises when they woke up to find their entire research fleet had been removed from existence. The 12-year-old boy stepped forward. "Mr. Crystal Person, can I ask you something?" The hive mind's patterns shifted to confused amber. "What? Do you have kids?" The crystalline collective reproduces through quantum resonance division. We do not form individual attachments to offspring constructs. Nodded seriously. "That's why you think it's okay to hurt children. You don't know what it's like to love someone smaller than you who needs you to keep them safe." He looked around the chamber. "My dad taught me about different kinds of aliens. He said some of them would understand about protecting kids, and some of them wouldn't. He said the ones who wouldn't understand were the dangerous ones." The boy's words carried a weight that made several representatives shift uncomfortably. Commander stepped forward. "The galaxy is about to be reorganized along different lines. Species that understand the sanctity of children and family bonds will find humanity to be a valuable ally. We will share technology, provide protection, and work together for mutual prosperity." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "Species that view children as experimental subjects or family bonds as biological inefficiency will find humanity to be something entirely different." He activated one final projection. It showed the current position of human fleets throughout the galaxy, not the small, peaceful exploration vessels that the Council knew about, but massive battle formations that had been hiding in deep space for years. 47 civilizations are represented in this chamber. 31 of those civilizations include family structures and parental bonds in their social organization. 16 do not. The implications hung in the air like a sword. Consul's voice was barely audible. "Commander, are you threatening members of the Galactic Council?" Looked down at Emma, who was petting her stuffed rabbit and humming a quiet lullaby. "Consul, I'm doing exactly what I did 3 days ago when I first stood in this chamber. I'm giving you fair warning." He gathered the children around him. "The galaxy now has a simple choice. Learn to value the bonds that connect families and protect the innocent, or learn what happens when you don't." Emma looked up at her father. "Daddy, can we go home now? Mommy said she would make pancakes when we got back." "Of course, sweetheart," replied, lifting her into his arms. "The grown-ups are done talking." As the humans left the chamber, the 46 remaining species sat in absolute silence, contemplating a galaxy that had suddenly become much more dangerous for anyone who didn't understand why human children's lullabies were worth going to war over. 6 months after the 442 incident, the galaxy had learned to listen when human children laughed. Commander stood in the observation deck of the Luna Defense Station, watching his daughter Emma play in the zero-gravity recreation area with children from 17 different species. The station had become something unprecedented, a truly integrated community where human families lived alongside alien visitors who had requested to learn about human family structures. "Daddy, watch," Emma called out, performing a perfect zero-G somersault before landing gently in the arms of Ra, a young whose species had been among the first to formally request human protection after witnessing what had happened to the understood family bonds. Their entire civilization was built around extended family units and the protection of their cubs. When they had learned what the Galactic Council had approved happening to human children, they had immediately withdrawn from Council membership and requested to join what the galaxy now called the Human Protective Alliance. They had not been the only species to make that choice. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander approached from the command section, "we have the final reports from intelligence." Accepted the data tablet without taking his eyes off the children. Summary: 31 species have formally withdrawn from the Galactic Council and requested membership in the HPA. 15 species have requested non-aggression pacts with specific provisions for child protection protocols. 16 species have gone silent and appear to be developing their own defensive alliances. Nodded, the galaxy had indeed reorganized itself, just as he had predicted. "What about the complete isolation, sir? They've sealed their borders, stopped all communication with outside species, and appear to be developing some kind of internal defensive technologies. Our intelligence assets suggest they're terrified that we're planning a follow-up attack on their home systems." "Are we?" Shook her head. "Admiral has made it clear that humanity's position is defensive. We don't seek conflict with species that leave our children alone, but the don't seem to believe that." Thought about the fear in Doctor's eyes during their final conversation. Some lessons were harder to forget than others. Any council retaliation efforts? None that we've detected, sir. The remaining council species seem to be focusing on internal stability rather than external action. The loss of 31 member civilizations has effectively collapsed their ability to coordinate large-scale military operations. And the children from 442. His expression brightened. Complete recovery across the board, sir. Dr. Park's psychological evaluations show no lasting trauma beyond what good family support and time can heal. The youngest ones barely remember the captivity period. The older children are actually showing increased resilience and confidence. Smiled as he watched Emma teaching a group of cubs how to play an ancient Earth game called tag. The children moved through the zero-gravity space with unconscious grace, their laughter creating a sound that had become the unofficial anthem of the new alliance. Sir, Admiral's voice came through the station's communication system. Please report to Conference Room Alpha. We have visitors. Made his way through the station's corridors, noting the mixed crowds of humans and aliens working together, playing together, learning from each other. The defense station had become more than a military installation. It had become a symbol of what the galaxy could be when different species chose cooperation over domination. Conference Room Alpha held a surprise. Around the massive table sat representatives from 3 species that had never expected to see again. The crystalline hive mind and the ethereal collective. Admiral gestured to an empty chair. Commander, our former council associates have a proposal they'd like to discuss. Consul, the mediator, looked significantly older than he had 6 months ago. His tentacles drooped with what might have been exhaustion or stress. Commander, we come to request guidance. Settled into his chair and waited. The remaining Galactic Council members have been struggling with the implications of recent events, continued. Your demonstration of human military capability has caused significant concern, but more importantly, your explanation of human family bonds has caused significant reflection. The crystalline hive mind representatives' patterns shifted to uncertain blue-green. We have been studying human family structures and emotional connections. Our analysis suggests that species with strong family bonds demonstrate increased creativity, enhanced problem-solving abilities, and more sustainable long-term civilizations. Raised an eyebrow. You've been studying our families. Observational studies only, assured quickly. No invasive research, no experimentation, nothing resembling the protocols. We've simply been watching how human families interact and trying to understand why those relationships create such powerful protective instincts. The ethereal collective's representative, a being of shifting energy fields, spoke in harmonious tones that bypassed the universal translators. We have discovered that our species' traditional reproduction methods may be inefficient. We observe that human children receive intensive individual attention and emotional investment that results in superior adult capabilities. Admiral leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing? Consul's tentacles writhed nervously. We request permission to establish joint research stations where our species can learn about family formation, child-rearing practices, and emotional bonding techniques. Not to study humans as subjects, but to learn from humans as teachers. Consider the request carefully. You want us to help you develop family structures. Yes, the crystalline representative flashed hopeful yellow patterns. We believe that learning to form family bonds would make our species more complete, more effective, more capable of the kind of cooperation we see in human communities. And in exchange, Admiral activated a holographic display. Full technological sharing agreements, joint defense treaties, and a formal protocol that establishes child protection as a foundational principle of galactic law. Studied the proposal documents. It was an extraordinary reversal. Species that had approved the kidnapping and torture of human children were now requesting to learn how to form families of their own. There's one condition, he said finally. The alien representatives leaned forward expectantly. Any species that wants to learn about human family structures has to spend time with human children. Real time, real interaction, real responsibility for their safety and happiness. Activated his own display, showing images of the integrated community that had developed on Luna Station. You don't learn about family by studying it from a distance. You learn by becoming part of one. Every alien who wants to understand why humans protect their children so fiercely has to spend time caring for a human child and allowing that child to care for them. The silence in the room was profound. Consul spoke first. Commander, our species has never formed individual emotional attachments to specific juveniles. We are not certain we are capable of the emotional responses you describe. Neither were the, replied, or the colonies, but they've all learned. Children are excellent teachers. He stood and walked to the window, where Emma was now leading a mixed group of human and alien children in what appeared to be a complex game of three-dimensional zero-gravity hide-and-seek. The galaxy spent thousands of years believing that emotional attachment was a weakness, that individual relationships were inefficient, that love was a biological flaw to be overcome. Then, you encountered a species that builds entire civilizations around protecting the bonds between parents and children. He turned back to the alien representatives. You saw what happens when those bonds are threatened. Now you're beginning to understand what those bonds create when they're protected and nurtured. The ethereal collective's representative pulsed with curious energy patterns. Human, if we accept these conditions, if we learn to form family bonds with your children, what assurance do we have that you will not use those bonds to control our species? Smiled, and for the first time in months, it was a completely warm expression. That's the beautiful thing about love, he said. The more you give away, the more you have. The more children you learn to protect, the more children will learn to protect you. Emma's voice echoed through the station's corridors as she organized her multinational, multi-species for their next adventure. That, said quietly, is the sound of the future. The galaxy is about to discover what humans have always known, that the laughter of children is worth any price, any sacrifice, any war. He looked each alien representative in the eye. The seal spoke to the aliens and told them what would happen if they hurt our children. Now the children are speaking to the galaxy and teaching them what happens when you choose love instead of fear. Admiral activated the formal communications array. Alliance Command, please prepare welcome protocols for 3 new applicant species. They're ready to learn what family means. In the observation deck, Emma finished explaining the rules of a Earth game called Protect the Castle to her new alien friends. The object, she told them seriously, was to make sure that everyone on your team got home safe. It was, the aliens realized, a perfect metaphor for what the galaxy was slowly learning to become. The children had indeed cried from the ruins of their captors, but now they were laughing from the communities built by those who had chosen to learn from humanity's example. And in a galaxy where the sound of children's laughter had become the ultimate deterrent against aggression, peace had found a voice that every species could understand, even if they were still learning how to speak it themselves. The scientific collective had learned the lesson. The question was whether anyone else would need to learn it the same way. But the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's message wasn't finished. It was just beginning on of launching spacecraft. The seal spoke to them, Admiral said quietly. Now let's make sure they hear our children cry from the ruins. But first, humanity had to build those ruins.